All right. So you guys send us a ton of stuff about habits.
Yeah.
Like how to build them, how to break them.
Yeah.
And really just like trying to get to the bottom of like why they work the way they do. And I got to say, just going through this stuff.
It's fascinating.
It really is. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack.
Absolutely.
So think of us as like your guides for this deep dive.
I like that.
Into the science of habits.
Okay.
One of the things that really jumped out at me was this whole idea of habits being tied to our identity.
It's really interesting, right?
It is.
How much of this comes back to like who we see ourselves as. It's not just about changing what we do.
Right.
It's about actually becoming someone different.
I like that. Yeah. So it's like
it's a shift.
It's not just
in our identity.
It's not just behavior modification.
It's not just like
I'm gonna like start doing this thing differently.
Right.
It's like I am becoming
deeper,
this like different person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it reminds me of something we saw from James Clear's book,
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
And he talks about this idea of habits as votes.
Absolutely.
For the kind of person we want to be.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
He says that every time we act, we're essentially reinforcing a particular identity.
Okay.
So like if you hit the gym after work, instead of going straight home to the couch, you're casting a vote for a fit person.
Okay.
Not just doing a single workout.
Got it.
Right?
So it's like every action we take.
It's like we're painting the self-portrait
with each.
This a tiny action.
Yeah.
This tiny brushstroke.
Exactly.
On this larger canvas.
Yeah. And the more we act in alignment with like that desired identity.
Yes.
The stronger that image becomes.
Totally.
Okay. So
it's not just about making a change. It's about becoming the kind of person who embodies that change.
I get it.
Right.
Okay. But then how do we explain those times?
Yeah.
When we're like, okay, I feel like I'm putting in the work.
Yep.
I'm making these votes.
I'm showing up every day.
But I'm not seeing the results.
Right.
Like what's going on there?
Well, for this, he uses a really cool analogy.
Okay.
He calls it the plateau of latent potential.
Okay.
So think of an ice cube.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
You can heat it from 25 degrees to 31 degrees. You won't see any change.
Okay.
It's still a solid cube of ice.
So we're putting in the effort, but we haven't hit that point where it's actually visible.
Right.
Okay.
But then at 32 degrees, something magical happens. The ice melts.
Right.
It's the same with building habits.
Gotcha.
Our early efforts might feel like they're making no difference, but they're accumulating beneath the surface.
Okay.
And when we finally break through that plateau, it can seem an overnight success to others.
Right.
But we know.
Like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
But it was all that consistent effort.
That got us there. Yeah.
Okay, so those overnight successes are really built on like a foundation.
Yeah.
Of unseen, consistent effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we can all relate to that feeling of frustration.
For sure.
When we feel stuck.
Yeah, like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong.
Okay, just gotta keep going.
You just haven't hit that 32 degrees yet.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
But understanding that concept can be so helpful for staying motivated and keep going, even when we don't see immediate results.
I like it.
And speaking of consistency,
yeah,
Clear breaks down habit formation into 4 stages.
All right, let's hear it.
Cue, craving response, and reward.
Okay, so the cue is like that trigger.
It's the trigger.
That sets it all off.
That sets the whole habit loop in motion.
Yeah, okay.
So for our ancestors, cues signaled things like food, water,
to survive,
or danger.
Right.
Today, our cues are often linked to things like our phones buzzing, the smell of coffee, or even certain times a day.
Okay.
They predict rewards.
Got it.
Even if those rewards are less essential for survival than they were for our ancestors.
Right. I mean, you don't need to, like, run away from a saber-toothed tiger when you hear your phone buzz.
Right.
Okay.
So, for example, seeing a notification on your phone is a cue.
Okay.
That triggers a craving to check it.
Yes.
Right?
It's like, oh, what is that?
What is that?
I gotta know.
I gotta know.
Okay, and so that craving is like the motivational
force behind that habit. It's the desire that drives us to act.
Gotcha.
Without craving. We wouldn't bother with the habit loop at all.
We wouldn't care.
We wouldn't care.
Okay, so then that craving leads to the response.
Yes.
Which is the habit itself.
The actual habit.
Okay.
Yeah. And the response can be a thought, an action, or a combination of both. It's what we do in reaction to that craving.
Okay, got it.
And then finally we have the reward.
Okay.
Which is the payoff.
Yeah.
That reinforces the entire cycle.
So that's what tells our brain, hey,
do that again.
That felt good.
That felt good.
Let's do that again.
Let's do that again.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's important to understand those 4 stages.
Yes.
Because
by understanding the cues that trigger our cravings, the responses we choose, and the rewards that reinforce those actions, we can start to gain control over our habits.
Gotcha.
Both good and bad.
Okay, so that's how we can kind of like start to break it down and understand.
Yeah, we understand the mechanism of what's going on.
Start to tinker with it.
Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
So Clear also talks about how our environment shapes our habits.
Yes.
So how does that fit into all of this?
Our brains are constantly making predictions.
Okay.
They're scanning our surroundings for familiar cues and anticipating what's going to happen next.
Okay.
The more we're exposed to a certain cue, the stronger that association becomes in our brains.
Okay, so like if I see a bowl of candy on my desk every day when I walk in, I'm way more likely to grab a piece than if it's not there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And Clear uses examples like Bed Light and Starbucks to illustrate this point.
Okay.
They're everywhere.
Right.
So those brands are always at the forefront of our minds,
right,
making it easier to choose them out of habit.
Okay.
Even if we don't consciously prefer them.
Yeah, like it's just easy.
It's just easy.
It's there.
It's there.
It's available.
Right. Okay, so it's like our environment is kind of like...
It's nudging us.
Yes, subtly nudging us.
Subtly nudging us.
Towards certain behaviors.
All the time.
Whether we realize it or not.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why it's so important to be mindful.
To be mindful of our
surroundings. And create environments.
Yes.
That support the habits that we want.
That support the habits.
To cultivate.
That we want to cultivate.
Okay, so if I want to read more.
Yes.
Maybe I should put a book on my nightstand.
That's a great example.
Instead of my phone.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's about making the cues for your desired habits more prominent.
Okay.
And accessible.
All right. So easy to grab.
Easy to grab.
And the things I don't want to do.
Yes.
Make those less obvious.
Less obvious, more difficult to encounter.
So out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
Okay.
I got it. And there are even more strategic ways to make those desired habits more appealing.
Okay.
And the unwanted ones less so. Clear calls one of these strategies temptation bundling.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
What is temptation bundling?
It's a way to make those have-to habits more enjoyable by pairing them with something you genuinely want to do.
Okay.
For instance, you could tell yourself, after I finish my workout, I'll watch an episode of my favorite show.
Oh, gotcha.
Or while I listen to this podcast, I'll fold the laundry.
I like it.
Right.
So you're basically like attaching a reward.
Attaching a reward.
To the habit that you're trying to build.
To the habit you're trying to build.
Okay.
It's about making the whole process more appealing.
Yeah.
And increasing the likelihood that you'll stick with it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great tip. I can definitely see how that could be helpful.
Good.
What are some other ways that we can make those good habits stick?
Clear also emphasizes the power of social influence.
Okay.
We are inherently social creatures, and we tend to adopt the behaviors of those around us.
Right. Think about like how easily slang or fashion trends catch on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gives the example of the Polgar sisters.
Okay.
Whose father created a home environment where chess was central to their lives.
Really?
They became chess prodigies.
Wow.
Not necessarily because they were born with some special talent.
Okay.
But because they were immersed in a culture where playing chess was the norm.
So it's like joining a book club.
Exactly.
If you want to read more.
Exactly. Surrounding yourself with people who share your desired behaviors can make a huge difference.
Got it.
In your ability to stick with them.
Okay, but it works both ways, right?
It does.
We could be influenced by negative behaviors too.
Absolutely. And Clear highlights the famous Solomon Asch experiment.
Okay.
Which demonstrated that people are even willing to conform to obviously incorrect answers just to avoid standing out from the crowd.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's a powerful reminder of how social pressure can influence our actions even when we know better.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So finding like a tribe.
Finding your tribe.
Yeah, that supports your desired behavior.
Yes.
Can be like a game changer.
It can be a game changer.
For building those positive habits.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's not just about willpower. It's about leveraging social dynamics to our advantage.
I like it.
Right.
So it's like understanding
the forces at play and then using them to your benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking of leveraging things to our advantage, another key point Claire makes is about making good habits easy and bad habits difficult.
That seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it seems straightforward.
But I'm sure there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah, there's some nuance there.
Yeah. So what are some practical tips for putting that into practice?
One of his most popular suggestions is the 2-minute rule.
Okay.
The idea is that when you're starting a new habit, it should take no more than 2 minutes to do.
Okay, so instead of saying, I'm going to write a chapter of my novel today,
right,
I would say,
I'm going to sit down at my desk.
I'm going to open my laptop.
And open my laptop.
Yep.
You're reducing the barrier to entry.
Got it.
Making it as easy as possible to get started.
I like it.
The key is to make that initial action so simple that you can't talk yourself out of it.
Right.
Then once you've taken that first step,
you're
much more likely to keep going.
It's like tricking your brain into getting started.
Exactly.
I like it. And what about those pesky bad habits?
For those, he suggests using commitment devices.
Commitment devices. What are those?
A commitment device is essentially a choice you make in the present to control your actions in the future.
Got it.
One example Clear gives is Victor Hugo, who literally locked away his clothes.
No way.
So he wouldn't be tempted to leave the house and could focus on writing.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah.
I guess we don't all have to go that far.
You don't have to go that far.
But I can see how that principle could be
applied in more everyday situations.
Yeah, so for example, if you're trying to eat healthier, you could pre-pack your lunches for the week.
Exactly.
Or avoid buying junk food at the grocery store.
Perfect.
Right.
You're making it harder for yourself to give in to temptation in the moment. By limiting your options ahead of time.
Yeah. It's like planning for your future self.
It is.
Knowing that future you might not.
Future you might not make the best choices.
Might not make the best choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then there's the ultimate commitment device.
Oh, with that?
Which is automation.
Automation.
He uses the example of the invention of the cash register.
Okay.
Which essentially automated ethical behavior by making it almost impossible for employees to steal. Instead of relying on willpower, it removed the opportunity to make a bad choice altogether.
That's so clever.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about trying harder.
Right.
It's about designing systems. That make it easier to do the right thing.
Exactly.
I love that.
And I bet there are all sorts of ways.
Oh, yeah.
We can use technology to automate our good habits.
Yeah.
Or make bad ones more difficult these days.
Like what?
From automatic savings plans to website blockers to fitness trackers.
Yeah.
There are tons of tools available that can help us outsource our willpower and create environments that support our goals.
So it's like having a personal assistant.
It is.
For our habits.
Yeah.
But I imagine technology can work against us too, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Think about things like social media.
Oh, yeah.
Or streaming services.
Right.
They're designed to be addictive. And it's easy to fall into patterns of mindless consumption.
Right.
If we're not careful.
If we're not paying attention. Yeah. Okay. So it's all about being mindful.
It's all about being mindful.
And using technology strategically.
Rather
than letting it control us.
Right. It's about being the architect of your digital environment.
I like that.
Choosing tools that support your goals.
Right.
Being aware of the potential pitfalls.
Okay.
Clear himself took a week-long social media break.
Really?
And found he was much more productive and focused without it.
Wow. So even someone who writes about habits.
For a living. Yeah.
Let's take a break from technology sometime.
We all do.
Okay.
It just goes to show that we all have to be intentional about how we interact with these tools. Right. They can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
But they can also be major distractions.
If we let them. Yeah. This is all fascinating stuff.
It is.
We've covered so much ground already.
We have.
From the science of habit formation to the importance of environment and even the role of technology.
Right.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some other key takeaways?
One thing that really stuck with me is Clear's emphasis on making habits satisfying.
Okay.
After all, if a habit doesn't feel good, we're not likely to stick with it.
Makes sense.
And this ties back to the reward stage of the habit loop we were discussing earlier.
Okay, so it's so much easier to choose the thing that feels good now.
Yes.
Even if we know it's not the best choice in the long run.
Exactly. And that's why we need to be strategic about how we reinforce our good habits.
Right.
Clear talks about this idea of reinforcement. And it's all about creating positive associations with the actions we're trying to repeat.
So like giving ourselves like a little reward or a pat on the back after we've completed a task.
It doesn't have to be anything grand or elaborate.
Okay.
Maybe it's savoring a cup of tea after a morning meditation session.
Okay.
Or listening to your favorite playlist while you work on a challenging project.
Yeah, sure.
The key is to find something that you genuinely enjoy.
Okay.
And pair it with the habit you're trying to build.
So we're kind of like hacking our brain's reward system.
We are.
By intentionally associating pleasure.
Exactly.
With the things that we want to do more of.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hacking the reward system. And Clear also suggests this a really interesting idea of making doing nothing enjoyable.
Now that sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
How do we make doing nothing enjoyable?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Instead of focusing on depriving yourself of something you enjoy, you're creating an alternative that's equally appealing.
Okay.
But aligned with your goals.
Good.
So let's say your bad habit is scrolling through social media for hours on end.
Right.
You could create a cozy reading nook in your home.
Okay.
And make it your go-to spot when you feel that urge to pick up your phone.
So you're replacing the mindless scrolling with a different
kind of pleasure.
Yeah.
One that's more aligned with your values and intentions.
I like it.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not just about finding pleasurable alternatives.
Okay.
Clear also talks about the importance of reframing our habits to focus on their positive aspects.
So instead of thinking, oh, I have to go to the gym,
yes,
I could say I get to move my body.
Exactly.
And feel energized.
You're shifting your perspective and emphasizing the benefits.
Right.
Rather than dwelling on the effort or discomfort involved.
Got it.
You're essentially changing the internal narrative around the habit.
So it's like choosing to see the glass as half full instead of half empty.
It is.
And I bet that shift in mindset can make a big difference.
It can.
In our motivation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a positive feedback loop.
Okay.
The more we focus on the enjoyable aspects of a habit, the more likely we are to repeat it, and the more rewarding it becomes over time.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's be honest.
Yeah.
Even with all the positive self-talk and rewards in the world, there are going to be times. When we just don't feel like sticking to our habits.
Absolutely.
So what are some strategies for staying motivated and on track when that inevitable slump hits?
One of the most powerful tools Clear advocates for is habit tracking.
Okay.
There's something about visually seeing your progress that can be incredibly motivating.
I can relate to that. Like there's something so satisfying about like checking things off a list.
Or
like seeing a streak of completed days on a calendar.
It's almost like gamifying your habits.
Yeah.
Which can make the whole process more engaging and fun.
Yeah.
Clear mentions Jerry Seinfeld's don't break the chain strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Where he marked an X on his calendar every day that he wrote jokes.
Yeah.
It's such a simple idea.
Yeah.
But I bet it's surprisingly effective.
It is.
It creates this visual representation of your consistency.
And it makes it harder to break that streak.
It's much harder to break that streak.
Once you've got it going.
Once you've got that momentum going.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be limited to calendars.
No.
You can use all sorts of visual trackers.
All sorts of visual trackers.
Whether it's a habit tracking app. A bullet journal. Or even just like moving paper clips.
Love it.
From one jar to another.
So visual.
As you make progress towards your goal.
Exactly.
It's about finding a system that works for you. And that makes you feel good.
About the progress you're making.
Okay.
And Clear highlights how these visual measures can tap into our brain's natural desire for progress and accomplishment.
Absolutely.
But he also cautions against becoming too reliant on metrics.
Yes.
So it's not just about like hitting a certain number.
Right.
It's about understanding
the why behind the habit in the first place.
Yeah.
He brings up Goodhart's law, which states that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Okay.
In other words, if we become too fixated on a specific number, we might lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah. So if my goal is to be healthier, I shouldn't just obsess over hitting 10,000 steps a day.
Right.
If that means neglecting other important aspects of my well-being.
Exactly.
Like sleep or stress management.
Like that.
So it's about using those metrics as a guide.
As a guide.
Not as like the sole definition. Not the be-all and end-all.
Of success.
Yeah. It's about finding a balance between tracking our progress and staying connected to the deeper reasons why we're building these habits in the first place.
It's like remembering that the map is not the territory.
The map is not the territory.
The numbers can be helpful.
Helpful.
But they don't tell the whole story.
They don't tell the whole story.
Okay, and speaking of staying connected.
Yes.
Clear also talks about the power of accountability partners.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having someone to cheer you on and hold you accountable can make a huge difference in your ability to stick with your habits. Yeah. Especially when motivation is waning.
It's like having a built-in support system.
Yes.
And someone to share the journey with.
Exactly. Yeah. He gives the example of Brian Harris.
Okay.
An entrepreneur who created a habit contract with his wife and personal trainer.
Interesting.
To help him achieve his weight loss goals.
So he had some skin in the game.
He did.
With real consequences if he didn't follow through.
Right.
Okay.
And it worked.
Nice.
Having that external accountability and support helped him stay committed to his goals.
So finding the right accountability partner can be like a game changer.
It can be.
When it comes to building lasting habits.
Right.
It's about finding someone who understands your goals.
Yes.
And is willing to both encourage and challenge you along the way.
Exactly. And sometimes that accountability can come from unexpected places.
Oh, like good.
Clear talks about the power of joining a culture.
Okay.
Where your desired behavior is the norm.
So surrounding yourself with people who already embody
the
habits you're trying to cultivate.
Yes. Think about it.
Right.
If everyone around you is going for a run every morning or eating healthy lunches, it becomes much easier to adopt those behaviors yourself.
Right, because it's just what everybody does.
It's just what everyone does. Yeah. It's not about willpower anymore. It's about aligning yourself with a group that shares your values and goals.
So it's like choosing your peer group strategically.
It is.
And it ties back to that idea of social influence.
Absolutely.
We were discussing earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're inherently wired.
Yeah. We want to fit in.
But conform to the norms of our tribe.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling to build a particular habit, ask yourself, is there a community or group I could join where this behavior is already the norm?
Okay.
It could be a fitness studio.
Right.
A book club.
Okay.
A professional organization.
Got it.
Or even just a group of friends who share your interests.
It's about finding your people.
Finding your people.
And leveraging the power of social dynamics.
To your advantage.
To your advantage. I like it.
Right.
Okay, so this whole conversation has me thinking.
Yeah.
How do we even know which habits?
That's a great question.
To focus on in the first place.
And it brings us to another important concept. Clear discusses. Okay.
The explore-exploit trade-off.
Explore-exploit trade-off.
Yeah.
Okay, break that down for me.
It's about finding the balance.
Okay.
Between trying new things and focusing on what you're already good at.
So at the beginning, it's important to cast a wide net.
Yes.
And experiment with different habits.
Try different things.
See what sticks and what doesn't.
See what sticks.
And what doesn't. Kind of like trying on different hats to see which one fits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can think of it like dating, too.
Oh, okay.
You go on lots of dates to get a sense of who you're compatible with.
Right.
Before settling down with one person.
I like that.
Right.
Okay, once you've identified those habits that resonate with you.
Yes.
You can shift your focus to exploiting them.
To exploiting them.
Really developing those areas where you excel.
Exactly.
Okay.
ClearGo uses the examples of Michael Phelps and Hicham El Guerrouj, both Olympic champions, who were fortunate enough to discover their unique talents early on. Wow. And then dedicate themselves to mastering them.
Okay, so it's not just about working hard.
Right.
It's about, like, finding the right pond to swim in.
Finding the right pond to swim in.
So to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this explore-exploit framework can help us identify those areas where we have the potential to truly thrive.
I like that.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes it's about creating your own opportunities.
Oh.
Finding a unique combination of skills or interests.
Right.
That sets you apart from the crowd. Clear talks about Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, who combined his drawing skills with his sense of humor and business experience to create a wildly successful comic strip.
Oh, wow.
It's a great example of how we can leverage our existing strengths to create something new and valuable.
So it's about recognizing that our unique combination of experiences and interests is our superpower. And the explore-exploit framework can help us hone in on those areas where we can make the biggest impact.
Absolutely.
Okay, this whole concept is really resonating with me.
Good.
It's like a roadmap for finding our sweet spot in life.
I love that.
Those areas where our passions and talents intersect.
Yes.
But even when we've found those habits that we want to master, the real challenge, as we've been discussing, is sticking with them over the long haul.
Over the long haul.
How do we push through those times when we just don't feel like it?
Yeah.
How do we stay consistent when motivation inevitably wanes?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something Clear addresses directly in Atomic Habits.
Okay.
He argues that even the most successful people, the Olympic athletes and world-renowned artists, experience those moments of doubt, boredom,
of course,
and the desire to quit.
Right. We're all human.
The difference lies in their ability to push through those feelings.
So it's not about always feeling motivated.
It's not.
But it's about cultivating the discipline to show up.
The discipline to show up.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Okay.
And he talks about finding the Goldilocks zone for challenge and skill.
Right.
That sweet spot where we're engaged enough to stay interested.
Okay.
But not so overwhelmed that we want to give up.
So it's like finding that perfect balance between...
Just finding that balance.
Yeah, pushing ourselves.
Yes.
And setting ourselves up for success. Okay.
Right. And he also highlights the role of variable rewards. In maintaining interest.
Yeah.
Think about the thrill of a slot machine.
Wow.
Or the excitement of opening a surprise gift.
Oh, yeah.
That element of unpredictability can keep us engaged and motivated.
Right.
Even when the task itself isn't always inherently enjoyable.
So it's not about eliminating boredom altogether.
It's not.
It's about finding ways to...
just spice things up.
Yeah. Keep things interesting. And injecting a little bit of novelty into our routines.
Exactly. And I think we can apply this to all areas of our lives, from our work to our relationships to our personal pursuits.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance.
Right.
Between structure and spontaneity.
Okay.
Routine and surprise.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation so far.
It has been.
We've covered so much ground.
Yes.
From like the nuts and bolts of habit formation to the importance of mindset, environment, and even finding our unique sweet spot in life.
I love it.
But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on one more crucial aspect. Clear emphasizes the importance of reflection.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Reflection is often overlooked.
Yeah. We don't think about that part as much.
We don't.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely essential for long-term growth and habit mastery.
Okay. Why is reflection so crucial?
It's a great question.
What benefits does it offer?
That's another good one.
And how can we make it a more integral part?
That's the best question.
Of our habit-building journey?
Those are all great questions, and I think they're the perfect launching point for the final part of our deep dive into the science of habits.
All right.
We'll explore the power of reflection, the importance of review, and how to use these tools to continuously refine our habits and stay aligned with our goals.
Got it.
So stay tuned for the final chapter of our exploration.
We've been talking about all these amazing strategies for building better habits.
Yeah.
But it strikes me that we haven't really talked about what happens after we put in the work.
After we form those new neural pathways.
Yeah, after we've formed those new neural pathways, it seems like reflection would be...
It's key.
A key piece of this whole puzzle.
It is.
So...
reflection is often the missing piece in habit formation. It's not enough to just go through the motions.
Right.
We need to take the time to step back, evaluate our progress, and make adjustments along the way.
Got it.
Clear highlights this in Atomic Habits, and even uses the Los Angeles Lakers as an example.
Oh, wow.
They had a career best effort program that helped the team improve their performance by analyzing their habits and looking for areas where they could make small incremental improvements.
So it's not just about putting in the reps.
It's not.
It's about being mindful.
Mindful and intentional.
And intentional about those reps.
About those reps.
Right. So like if I'm trying to improve my writing, it's not enough to just write every day.
Right.
I need to also reflect on what's working.
Yes.
What's not working. And how I can refine my approach over time.
Absolutely. And reflection helps us stay connected to the deeper purpose behind our habits. It's about asking ourselves, why does this matter to me? How is this habit contributing to my overall goals and values?
So it's like checking in with ourselves.
Checking in with ourselves.
And making sure we're still on the right track.
On the right track.
That our habits are still serving us.
Serving us.
And moving us in the direction we want to go.
The direction we want to go.
Exactly.
And this is where the power of review comes in. Clear talks about setting aside time for regular reviews. Maybe weekly, monthly, or even quarterly.
Got it.
To assess your progress, celebrate your wins. And identify areas where you might need to course correct.
So it's like having a performance review.
I like that.
For your habits.
A performance review for your habits. And just like with a work performance review, these habit reviews can be incredibly valuable for identifying blind spots, recognizing patterns, and making adjustments that can lead to even greater success.
This all makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, the idea of adding another thing to my to-do list, even if it's something as beneficial as reflection, can feel a little daunting.
It can.
So any tips for making this a more manageable and sustainable practice?
One thing that might help is to think about reflection as a form of self-care rather than a chore. It's an opportunity to check in with yourself. Acknowledge your efforts. And celebrate your progress.
I like you.
And it doesn't have to be this formal, time-consuming activity. You can incorporate small moments of reflection into your daily routine. Maybe journaling for a few minutes before bed. Or taking a mindful walk in nature.
So just finding little ways to fit it in.
Finding what works for you. And weaving those reflective moments into the fabric of your life.
I like that.
And you can even get creative with it. Maybe you create a visual representation of your progress, like a habit tracker. Or you find a friend or accountability partner who's also working on building better habits. And you share your reflections with each other.
So it's about making reflection.
It's about making reflection.
A part of your ongoing dialogue with yourself.
With yourself.
A way to stay connected to your goals.
And to celebrate the journey.
Celebrate your journey. I like that.
And I think that brings us back to one of the most profound insights Clear offers in Atomic Habits. The idea that small changes over time can lead to remarkable results. He refers to habits as the compound interest.
Oh, I like that.
Of self-improvement.
So just like with investing.
Exactly.
The earlier we start and the more consistent we are.
The greater the rewards.
The greater the rewards will be over time.
Over time. It's about trusting the process.
Yeah.
Embracing those small incremental improvements. And recognizing that even seemingly insignificant actions can have a profound impact over time.
And he has this great quote.
He does.
About happiness being the space between one desire being fulfilled and a new desire forming.
I love that quote. It's a beautiful way to capture the idea.
It is.
That we're always striving for something, always seeking something more. And true happiness lies in that journey. In that continual process of growth and evolution.
It's not about reaching some final destination.
It's not.
Of perfect happiness.
No.
It's about embracing
the process.
The messy, imperfect process of becoming.
Beautifully put. And that brings us full circle
to
the idea of habits as votes. For the type of person we want to become. It's not just about achieving external measures of success, but about shaping our identity. And aligning our actions with our deepest values.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the science of habits, I think the key takeaway for our listener is this.
What is it?
You have the power to choose the habits
you do
that shape your life.
You have the power
to become the architect of your own destiny.
I love it.
It's about making conscious choices.
Conscious choices.
One small step at a time.
One small step at a time.
And trusting that those small steps
yes,
will lead you to extraordinary places.
They will.
And remember, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Not a destination.
Not a destination.
There will be setbacks and challenges along the way.
There will be.
But it's in those moments of struggle that we have the opportunity to learn.
To learn and grow.
And grow the most.
The most.
So embrace the process. Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself.
And never stop exploring, experimenting, and evolving.
Wise words to end on.
Listener, we hope this deep dive has given you a renewed sense of agency and inspiration as you continue on your own habit-building journey.
Absolutely.
Remember, every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become.
It is.
So choose wisely.
Choose wisely.
And most importantly,
yes,
enjoy the ride.